beautiful dragon with dichromatic eyes, come in and ruin someone's day. How we doing, guys? It's Tally here, and today we're going to take a look at Odd Eyes. We're going to take a look through the Odd Eyes deck profile that I've been running recently, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So, of course, the key to Yu-Gi-Oh! Is always try and have fun and mix things up, make things fun for yourself. So recently, I've decided to play Odd Eyes again. I was playing Odd Eyes a few months ago, but as of the World Celebration, which the ban list really screwed Pendulum Magicians, I decided, let's have another crack at Odd Eyes. And I've been having a lot of fun with the deck recently. It's got a lot of power in it, and you know, it's not as consistent because we're running a whole bunch of level 7 monsters, but on the bright side, it's when it goes off, it goes off. So let's take a look at it. First of all, we're going to fire into the main deck, and we have free Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. And a little spoiler there. So we've got free Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum. Jesus, what is going on? Free Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon. And when this card is in your scale, which it always will be because it's amazing in the scale, it's got the pendulum effect of when an Odd Eyes is destroyed. Odd Eyes cards is destroyed by battle or card effects, so pretty much anything, even your own card effects, that's important. Then you can summon one from your hand, your graveyard, or your deck, and that can be any Odd Eyes monster. So it's got a lot of potential in it. It's got a lot of, you know, flexibility, and of course it's a scale 8, so when you're running a deck full of level 7s, a scale 8 is amazing. It's always going to be your scale 8. What we worry about in this deck is our low scale. Okay, and then moving on, we have free of the OG Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon. So this could be at 2 or 3, but I like it at 3 purely because I love Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon's design, especially in the Legendary Dragon alternate art. Its battle effect isn't really used, and its pendulum effect is used sometimes, and as well it's a scale 4, so that's always useful. Really what you're using it for is its level though, to go into your rank 7 plays. But it does have some uses in the grind game, of course, and when you're got it in scale and you can pop it itself in the end phase, then you can combo it with Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon to get a little bit more field presence just before your opponent's turn. You know, you could get out a Persona Dragon, and then that can do some funky things on its own. And moving on, we've also got free Mythical Beast Master Cerberus. So Master Cerberus, as we know, it's one of our Electromite Turbo cards. We've popped this to get Jackal to get this out in the field, and then we have any other normal summon or another Electromite Turbo would be better to get out Electromite, and then we start our plays and continue our plays from there. This card, it's not easy to get out because it's level 8, so it's outside of your scales. We don't really have a scale higher than 8, but if you can get it out using Jackal and you can get it to a main monster zone that's linked, then you've actually got a really powerful monster. It can banish your opponent's monsters, so it helps break boards as well if you're going second. And look at it, at least he's a complete beast. A mythical beast, to be fair. Oh, God. I'm really disappointed in that one, guys. I'm really sorry. Okay, and then to continue our Electromite Turbo shenanigans, we have free Chronograph Sorcerer. So we know what Chronograph Sorcerer does. In scale, it pops itself, and it gets TIMEGAZER out on field. Free summon, gets you that little bit closer to Electromite. If you open with Mythical Beast, Master Cerberus, and Chronograph Sorcerer, which is a fair chance, or any of your other Electromite Turbo cards, then you've got the game going. And as I said, when this deck goes off, it goes off. Chronograph Sorcerer as well, it's not got the highest attack, but in a pinch, it's a scale 8, and it's a level 6, so if you do choose to run some level rank 6s in the extra deck, I personally didn't for this build, but I actually might going forward, then, you know, fire in. You've got a bunch of level 6s in the deck as well. And then as well, speaking of more Electromite Turbo, we've got Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. So this card is a little bit less useful in terms of utility than it is in Pendulum Magicians, but it's a free summon to get you closer to Electromite using this and Chronograph, or using this and Mythical Beast. Again, gets you your Electromite for free. Its scale isn't as great because we've got a lot of level 7 monsters, so you can't really do anything with that, and its battle effect isn't really great either. But in a pinch, it's a free monster. I keep saying in a pinch, but at the very least, it's a free monster for Electromite, and it's, you know, not an awful card, just not as good as it could be, because again, its level doesn't really synergize with the deck, its scale doesn't really synergize with the deck, but getting an Electromite for free always synergizes with a Pendulum deck. And moving on to our 2-ofs, we have 2 Mythical Beast Jackal King. So Jackal King, of course, is probably one of the better Mythical Beasts. It gets out Master Cerberus for your Electromite Turbo, and then when you go to Pendulum Summon, you get this guy out, have, you know, you can rely on your opponent to play some spell cards. You can have one in hand, knowing that you're going to play it. Get that Jackal King a free negate. And then what I recently learned is Jackal King's a soft once per turn. So if I have 2 Jackal Kings, I actually have 2 negates. You know, and that's great. So Jackal King just got better. And it's a level 6. So if you want to go into Naruto plays against back row heavy decks, of course you absolutely can. Okay, and it's got some other synergies, but that's later on in the deck profile. And then another 2 of, we have Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon. This is Manga Yuya's ace, and it's really good. So this has a much better effect than Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, in my opinion. So I might switch this around to the 3 of and have Pendulum Dragon at the 2 of because it's more searchable. But this guy, when it attacks your opponent and deals damage, then it will deal 1200 extra damage for each Odd Eyes in your scale. And how often are you not going to have 2 Odd Eyes in your scale? So that's an extra 2400 damage. And if you need that little bit stretch to go in for the kill, it's right there. So that's Odd Eyes Phantom Dragon. I'm going to have to rarity bump it one day because I really feel like this card deserves to be shiny. And its design is just awesome. You know, it's gothic, nasty. Kind of looks like a tree, but it's also beautiful dragon with dichromatic eyes. And speaking of another Odd Eyes monster, we have, of course, Odd Eyes Persona Dragon. It's your low scale, it synergizes with some of the other cards in the deck really well. It's level 5, which comes into play more often than you'd think, and its effect isn't awful. Let's have a look. Once per turn, Quickie! You can target one face-up monster in the field that was special summoned from the extra deck, and it has its effects negated until the end of this turn. So that's not bad as well. It's an extra negation if you're ever going up against extra deck heavy decks, which in this day and age, you probably are. Okay, so if you're getting out that Tri-Gate bait, then have Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, negate it, and you're free to go on, because a lot of decks don't have that many negates, but they do have some funky disruptions. Odd Eyes Persona is always great, okay, whether it's in scale or whether it's on the field. And another Odd Eyes we have is Performapal Odd Eyes Synchron. So this card has an amazing effect that when it's summoned, you can target one of your scales, maybe an Odd Eyes Persona Dragon, and then you can special summon. Immediately after you special summon it, you go ahead and synchro summon with it, so you've got yourself a level 7, and that can come into play in one of 2 ways. You can go into like Meteor Burst, you can go into Dawn Dragster, you can go into Clearwing. Lots of good level 7s with access that you've got access to in this deck. If you're ever playing any level 9s as well, I don't personally play level 9s, but you've got some that you can go into with Odd Eyes Performapal Synchron. Okay, and then we've got the beginnings of our Magician engine. So we've got Purple Poison Magician, which I personally run as a 2 of, just because it's really good in this kind of format, where you can ram it into things, or you can destroy it with Electromite and start to break boards if you're going second, or if you're in the grind game, it just kind of helps you out that little bit more. Pendulum summon it, ram into something, get rid of something problematic, and then go from there. Purple Poison as well, it's a low scale, so if you're ever needing it, of course, we're going to try and aim for Persona to be our low scale, but Purple Poison Magician isn't a bad low scale in and of itself, so that's always good. And as well, it synergizes with our Dark Spellcasters, i.e. Jackal King, which is the one we're mainly going to have out in the board. So that's always great. Outside of that, again, it's level. Because we've got a few level 4s, it may be good to switch in or side in some rank 4s, you know, maybe something like Dark Rebellion, something like Tornado Dragon, if you're going second. Purple Poison helps facilitate that, and then we've got other cards that help get into that as well. But I primarily use it for its scale and its effect. So you guys can do what you want with it, but this is how I've used it. And then as well, we've got a 1-of TIMEGAZER Magician. We know why, because you get it from Chronograph Sorcerer. Scale 8, again, if you're desperate for a Scale 8, it's not the worst thing in the world, but we always want Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon to be our Scale 8. And then TIMEGAZER is really just Electromite fodder. Shanky Magician, I run this card, of course, because it's level 7, it's searchable via Harmonized Magician, which of course we're running in the deck because you can't run Magicians without Harmonized Magician. And it's actually got a decent effect as well, so it negates the effect of a light monster, and it's a quickie. So if you get it out just naturally without summoning it through Harmonized Magician, there you go, you've got a really good negate on board. This deck is quite good at alternative negates that aren't just extra deck based, so of course you've got to keep a lookout for that and make sure you are utilising the cards properly, and its pendulum effect is actually relevant in this deck. We're going to find out why in a minute. Well, I say in a minute, in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Later on in the deck profile, really. And then, as mentioned previously, we're also running Harmonized Magician. So we know what Harmonized Magician does by now. It's an amazing card that when it's pendulum summoned, you can get out any magician monster, but its effects are negated, and also it's banished when it leaves the field. That's not awful. Harmonized Magician is also probably the second best scale 8 in the deck if you are desperate. So essentially what it does is it lets you increase your monsters by 100 attack and defense for each differently named magician you've got. So you'll probably end up with TIMEGAZER magician, maybe a purple poison magician, maybe a Shanky magician. So that's a couple extra 100 attack points that can bring your monsters up to just getting over that problematic beat stick that you're going against. So to summarise, Harmonize's Magician is fantastic. Again, because it's a level 4 and we've got a level 4 Magician in here, and we're level 7, level 7 in Shanky, but level 3 in TIMEGAZER, it also opens up a lot of flexibility for Xyz and Synchro summons. So this card could be utilised more. I only had it at 1 because we were running it in the OCG format, and I was confident enough that I could search it out through a couple of ways, that I didn't feel like having it at 2 or 3 would be totally imperative to the deck because it's a smaller engine. But if you want to run it at 3 because we're in the TCG, run it at 3 because it's probably one of the best cards, best Pendulum cards ever, really. I think so anyway. And going on from that, we have the one Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver. So this deck has a few ways to get out our boy Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon. So this is one of them. Odd Eyes Dissolver lets you, it's essentially polymerization in scale, lets you fuse things on the field in your hand into, just whatever. But on the field, it's also got the effect where you can use things in your scales as well. And that's, once you've Pendulum summoned, you may have some dead scales that aren't really doing anything for you. So certainly feel free to fire them into a Vortex Dragon. And then it gives you options, instead of going into Absolute and ZEFRA, you could go into a different rank 7, which we'll take a look at later on in the deck profile. But Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver, while it's a level 8, so it's not Pendulum summonable, it's obtainable via Arc Pendulum. So that's why we just run the one off, because it's searchable. We're always going to have Arc Pendulum out, and it's always going to be good. So this guy, if you're ever, needing it, is always there. I would recommend at least one. Probably no more than one, to be fair, because it's a bit of a brick afterwards, and, you can't really do much with it, can't summon with it. Its scale's not bad, so we've got to take that in mind, but it's usable. And then, moving on to our spell cards, because we are running an Odd Eyes deck, we're of course going to run Sky Iris. Sky Iris is the Odd Eyes field spell that protects your scales from your opponent's card effects, and as well, it pops monsters on field. So it synergizes really well with Arc Pendulum Dragon, synergizes well with Electromite, you get that draw one, and then you can, it also, the main reason to run it as well, it searches an Odd Eyes. So if you start out and you don't have Arc Pendulum in hand, and you've got Terraform or Sky Iris, get Sky Iris out, pop something, get your Arc Pendulum, go into Electromite, pop an Odd Eyes, get a different Odd Eyes from your extra deck, and get one from your deck because you've got Electromite and you've got Arc Pendulum. And then as well, you get a draw, right? So Arc Pendulum plus Electromite and Sky Iris, it's really, really flexible, versatile hand filler and field filler, So Sky Iris, there's no reason not to run it for free. It's absolutely amazing. As well, I was running it in the Worlds format, which means only one terraforming. So it's only one terraforming in this deck, as you've seen earlier. But if you want to run more than one terraforming, because this card is, it's key to the strategy, I would recommend it. I'll take a look at the deck and see what I can change, and maybe run it a 3 of for terraforming and Sky Iris, or maybe 2. I like 3 for this field spell, 2 for this the searcher. But now I'm rambling. So Sky Iris, yeah, it's amazing. And then we've got another searcher, so the deck searches a lot, and it's got a lot of capabilities to search. We've got Spiral Flame Strike. Spiral Flame Strike essentially lets you do one of two things. You can add one level 7 Odd Eyes to your hand, or if you control an Odd Eyes card, target one card in the field and destroy it. So what's not to love, really? It's a searcher, and if you've already got your Odd Eyes out and you're going second, or it's in the later game, you've also got something to help clear that board to help you go in for the kill. So Spiral Flame Strike, it's also non-once per turn. Okay, so if you open up with 3 Spiral Flame Strikes, you have any free level 7 Odd Eyes monsters you want. How can you complain about that? Of course, you best be opening up with another 2 Electromite cards, but really, Spiral Flame Strike, if you open it 1 up or 2 up, there's no reason to complain. It's a great card. And then we've got Duelist Alliance. So Duelist Alliance, because a lot of cards in this deck have Pendulum in the name, then it's really usable. So you want something in your scale to activate it, and it can search out Arc Pendulum, just regular Pendulum Dragon, one of our other spells that we've got in the deck, Pendulum Call, which searches out your magicians. So it's really good. It gives you a little bit of flexibility. In some situations, in like Pendulum Magician decks, it's a little bit dead once you've got 1 or 2 things out. But in this, there's options. So if you've got your Pendulum Call, but you need, an Arc Pendulum, or if you've got Arc Pendulum or Pendulum Dragon, and you just need a little bit more of an extender, get that harmonized now to continue your plays, then it's right there, you know, and it's amazing. So Duelist Alliance, we run it as a 2 of, primarily just because it's a bit of a brick at 3, but at 2 you're going to see it enough where it's always useful, or you're just, you know, not going to see it at all. But that's beside the point. I feel 2 is the best. Feel free to correct me, but depending on ignoring ratios, Duelist Alliance is great. Duelist Alliance is fantastic searcher. We've got a 1-of Return of the Dragon Lords. Okay, so this is something that you're going to want to see a bit later on in the game. This provides your dragons a protection once you've used it and it's in the graveyard, but it gets out a level 7 or level 8 dragon, so you're not really much more than that to go off of, but it's great, you know. Once you're further into that grind game, you know, if you're going up against some sort of control deck that doesn't allow you to kind of do what you want, getting a dragon out of the graveyard might just be the thing that wins the game for you, or being able to have this in the graveyard and protect a dragon. Of course, pretty much all of our cards are dragons. Then it works wonders. Again, I used to run it as a 2-of, but I found it bricked a bit. So having this be something that we can get to later on in the game, I think it's just brilliant, really. And then, of course, we mentioned it earlier on, we've got Pendulum Call. So you discard 1. Again, if you've got this and Return of the Dragon Lords, you can discard 1, Return of the Dragon Lords, and then you get 2 Magicians. Okay, so that's always great. Pendulum Call as well, it protects your Magicians in scale. So if you've got like an Arc Pendulum with no Sky Iris and a different Magician in scale, could be Shanky, then it protects it. So it may be that you need Shanky just until next turn because you're getting that amazing play set up. But as well, Pendulum Call, it does a few things. Okay, so it helps set up your graveyard, helps you get, and you know, fill up your hand as well. You might need that Harmonized Magician, you might need that Purple Poison Magician, so getting them is always fantastic, and it's just a fantastic combo extender. Only run it 1 because in the OCG it's only at 1, so I would maybe run it at 2, but let's take it as it is. It's already a fantastic card, let's not kind of break the deck. And lastly, our 1 Terraforming. Terraforming gets our Sky Iris gets our Rod Eyes, and then we go off from there and we go mental and we go insane, and we just completely ruin days. That's pretty much Terraforming, you know, it's not a complex card. You search a field spell. Non-once per turn, so if you want to do some field spell shenanigans, feel free, but since we're running, you know, the Worlds format, the OCG only allows 1, so that's what is in the deck. But it's good, you know. You see Sky Iris enough, or the deck is consistent enough that you can see Sky Iris when you want it. Maybe bumping Terraform up to a 2-of and getting rid of something else would be fine, but at 1 it's not awful. You know, it's always better than not having it. So that's the main deck, guys. Let's fire straight into the extra deck. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at the extra deck. So, of course, we've got a few Synchros, a few Linkros, a few XZs, and a few... what am I missing here? And, of course, Fusions. Complete mind blank there. So we're going to start off with our Synchros. We're going to take a look here. So first of all, we've got Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. This is a great combo extender in the sense that if you need to get out your rank 7 and you've got any Odd Eyes for Pendulum, not any, because we've got Persona, but if you've got things like Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum, Odd Eyes Pendulum, Odd Eyes Phantom in your scales, summon this, drag one of them out, XZ summon, and go off from there. Meteor Burst also prevents your opponent from activating monster effects during the battle phase, so if you're going to use its battle effect, it's really, really good as well. Not a lot to say about Meteor Burst, it's just kind of great, one of those great combo extenders, and when you're going into the battle phase, it gives you that little bit extra confidence. You know, you've only got to worry about kind of spell and traps, and of course you'll have a few negates there anyway, because Odd Eyes have, you know, a lot of negate potential. Then next we've got Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Clearwing to me has been, you know, power crept, and it's power crept by its bigger brother, Crystal Wing. I don't see the point in running Crystal Wing in this deck. Clearwing, though, it's easy to get out, it's a gorgeous ghost rare, and its effect isn't awful, and particularly my locals. I know a lot of decks out there are more relying on Link summons, which don't have levels, so Clearwing Synchro Dragon, it's optional, but where I play, a lot of the guys use a lot of cards with different levels, most of them kind of bigger monsters above level 5, so Clearwing works really well for me. Might not work well for you guys, so you might want to consider replacing it with something like Dawn Dragster, but it's a really great card anyway. Not a lot of downsides to it other than it's been power crept a little bit by links, but depending on the deck, you might want to side it anyway because it's that extra negate on board. And then we have the evil Clearwing. So this guy, when you summon it, is Raigeki, and it also has that Flame Wing Man effect that when you attack a monster, you can just destroy it, and then you burn it, which is the Flame Wingman effect. You burn your opponent for their original damage. Supreme Kind Dragon Clearwing, there's nothing wrong with it. And as well, it's 2500 body. Imagine it was 25k, guys. That would be insane. It's a 2500 body, and it does some work. Performapal Gatling Gull, this is essentially this deck's cowboy for game. So if this card is fusion summoned, you can inflict 200 damage to your opponent for each card in the field. If it was fusion summoned using a Pendulum monster as material, you can also destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. And it's it's hard once per turn. So Gatling Gull is really good. If you're going into game free, just turbo out Electromite and Arc Pendulum, get something out to destroy with Electromite, then get out Dissolver in your game, you're good to go. Because if you're going second as well, which is the fear, this can do a lot of damage if your opponent's got a monster out with no protection. So Gatling Gull's a must-have in the deck. Isn't played all the time, but when it's played to win. It goes for the kill. Of course, we have Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, actually 2 Odd Eyes Vortex Dragons. I'm going to have to get rid of the common, because I actually picked up another secret the other day, and I'm going to have to get rid of the secrets eventually for the ulties that I really want, but I think it's a great secret though. So we're just gonna there we go. So Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, we know what it does by now. It's essentially an Omni Negate by shuffling a Pendulum monster back into the deck from the extra deck. Odd Eyes Vortex, essentially the reason that you run 2 of is because you can access 2 of, and you may not have one on the board all the time. Once you've got one in the grave and one in the field though, Arc Pendulum pretty much rotates them whenever one gets destroyed. So it's really, really imperative to have Vortex Dragon out. I don't see why you wouldn't have Vortex Dragon out, because it's just an amazing card in general. So especially in Odd Eyes, where you can get out through 2 or 3 different ways, I would definitely recommend it. At 2, because 1 just doesn't cut it. When you can rotate 2 and you've got access to 2, run 2, because it's always good to have something like this on the board. And moving on to our links, we of course have the 1 Electromite. So going forward, I might run 2 Electromite because I've just found situations where it would be good to have another Electromite to kind of cheese out some more plays to solidify that win. But in that instance, it's a bit more of a win more. So Odd Eyes, I've really only played it with 1 pretty much since I started playing the deck. It's really a combo starter. You don't need Electromite to go into the late game. Sometimes it would be good to have it, but again, we don't really run a huge amount of 1 more cards. But this deck does have a little bit of extra deck space that you can mess about with. So if you want to run more than 1, feel free. But I like 1 just because it sets you up with the areas to Pendulum Summon 2, and then you've usually got an Odd Eyes or 2 in hand as well, or cards that you want in hand to Pendulum Summon. So Pendulum Summon from the extra deck isn't super important, but 1 Electromite, of course, you can't run a Pendulum deck without at least 1. Then we've got ZEFRA METALTRON. Of course, with my obsession with ZEFRA recently, I've been trying to find out how this guy relates to the ZEFRA archetype. I don't think he does. He's from the True Draco lore, so I don't think he has anything to do with the ZEFRA archetype. I think it might just be a translation thing. ZEFRA comes from Sephira, which is I think it means angelic or angel in the OCG, so it might just be angelic Metaltron. But maybe one day it'll turn out that this guy's from the future of the dual terminal, and everything in the Draco lore happened in the dual terminal world. At the moment though, it's a really good link free because it opens up 3 down point and arrows, of course, so that's better than Decode Soccer. And you can use this plus Absolute, link off Electromite and Absolute into this, get your Vortex, and this guy's effect isn't awful either. Banish 1 extra deck monster to banish one of your opponent's extra deck monsters, and whenever something that this points to is destroyed, you can add an extra deck monster. So face up extra deck monster to your hand, so that's not bad. And then we've got our link 4s, we've got BORRELOAD Dragon. Of course, because this deck can make BORRELOAD Dragon, there's no reason not to run it. It's an out to pretty much every and all tricky monster, especially big boss monsters. So once you've got this out, you can also just ram over. It's free K. It reduces other things by 500, so you can ram over something, you can steal something. Don't see why you wouldn't steal anything you can ram over, really, and things you can't ram over. But there's no reason not to run Borrowed, and its arrows aren't awful as well. So if you have a dead Harmonizing on field because you've not got anything to tune, or you've not got anything to Xyz summon it with, skip Metaltron, go to Borrowloads, because while you're missing a down point and arrow, you don't really need it. And that's why Borrowload's great. It's got a lot of utility in the deck. And then we've got Firewall Dragon. Firewall Dragon's great in the sense that it allows some extra negations if you can get it out. It's a specific way to get it out in this deck, but once it's out, it's really good. It opens up more Pendulum summonable zones. Of course, if you get it in the middle, or if you get it in other places, you know, you've got options. Again, I don't use it too much, but it's one of those cards that you can't afford not to have. And if you have it, abuse it, right? So if you can get it out pre-Pendulum Summon, which I highly doubt, then you can just go off, you know, in the same way that Pendulum Magicians do. Get a few things out on the board, get a few things from hand, link off, Xyz, summon, you know, do that, get more things out, more negates, just have a crazy board. Firewall Dragon, though, haven't used it a whole load. When I have used it, it's been pretty much one of those you can't lose situations, because it's just another negate on top of the 2 or 3 negates we already may have. And then going on to Xyz monsters, we have my Red Eyes Flare Metal Dragon. So, of course, level 7 decks cannot, you know, you can't get by without Flare Metal. Kind of punishes your opponent for playing the game, along with you may have a negate or 2. So every time they try and out your negates, they're going to take damage. If you're going into game free as well, this guy's just terrifying to your opponent. You know, I'm sitting laughing. They don't want to activate anything, because the more they activate to try and out Flare Metal, if they don't have a Kaiju, that is, the more they try and activate, the more it's going to affect them, and the more it's going to damage them. And it's just mind games, really, as well. It'll stress them out. So Flare Metal, great card. Just no reason not to run it in this kind of deck. Lots of level 7s. Plus, if you've got